Is it way too far for a parent to refuse to pay for a jar of candy that their kid just stuck their hand into? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, a story from MLS 0510. My parents hate my boyfriend, and I don't know how to move forward. My boyfriend and I, female, are both 21, and we've been dating for a year but have known each other and each other's families for 10 plus years. His mom was a mentor of mine, and my family adored him. My parents are extremely protective and didn't allow me to do much with anyone. With boys, they wanted a chaperone, and I could not text, call, or be with them alone. But because they knew him, they let those rules go. When we started hanging out, many people in our church advised my parents to not let me get involved with him and to not trust him. He had a rough past and was always getting in trouble. They let us hang out for a couple of months, but things slowly got bad. He and I became each other's best friends, and we told each other everything. He told me about his troubles in high school and friend issues. He had left his friend group because of drama and was trying to be better. I told him how little time for myself I got, how I had basically no life outside my home, and wanted to move out by the end of summer. We hung out for 3 months without the chaperone rules, but we were still super respectful of my parents, and we wouldn't be in a room or a home alone together. One instance, we were at a drive-in movie, and that didn't finish until after midnight, which was approved with no curfew, and my mom wasn't going to be home till 2 a.m. We stopped at the beach to talk for a while because we had time and then started the 45-minute drive back home. On our way back, I got a call from my mom freaking out because I wasn't home. I explained what had happened and how I thought she'd be back after I got home. This was unacceptable, and they accused us of being intimate with each other and that we were lying about it. At that point, I liked someone else and he had no intentions towards me. They said it was deceitful and untrustworthy. We were never allowed to be without an approved, my sister, chaperone again, and I now had a 9 p.m. curfew. This resulted in a massive argument between me and my parents. They said they lost all trust in me and they're trying to protect me from things I don't even know about. Word for word, you can never know what could happen, things that you don't even know about. We can tell you from experience that there's things you just can't fathom. I asked them to explain these things so I could be better prepared, and they wouldn't tell me because they valued my innocence. Over the next month, we tried to earn that trust back, but we couldn't get through to them. I got super depressed, thought of ending it all, had nightmares so bad, barely slept, and almost left the state to start over. But my boyfriend helped me so much. He was kind, caring, gentle, and had encouraged me that things would get better, and he's the main reason I stayed. I got better, we got closer, and we tried so hard to stay on good terms with my parents, but it wasn't easy. Home life for me was messy and toxic. I'm the oldest of 6 and the majority caretaker of the house, and I worked full-time. I wasn't treated very well and I wanted out. My plan was to move out by the end of the summer, but then my boyfriend asked my parents for permission to officially start dating me and give me a promise ring. We started dating and my parents got even more strict, which left no room for me to ask if I could move out, so I stayed. 2 months later, I got into another massive argument with them over a miscommunication, and my dad kicks me out. I go to stay with a friend, and my mom is begging me to come back home. My boyfriend wanted nothing to do with the argument and wanted to stay out of it as much as possible, but still was supporting me in making my own decisions without influence. My dad does apologize for kicking me out, and he does respect my decision for much needed space. I come back home for 2 weeks because I got sick, and I'd found a place to stay. They are not pleased with my decision to move out and were being passive-aggressively supportive. When the day came for me to move, they decided to paint their entire house and told me I couldn't bring friends over to help me move. I moved everything on my own. During this time, they found out my boyfriend and I had hooked up. They were furious, but not with me, with him. They felt betrayed. My boyfriend had promised to protect me, and they felt he had broken that promise and hated him for it. They were certain it started back on the beach and I was coerced into it. They wouldn't believe me when I told them that we started 3 months after dating. We didn't kiss until we were dating, and I had initiated both. They demanded an apology from him, but never wanted to see him again. During that time, my boyfriend had serious surgery, was incapacitated for 4 weeks, and his family had COVID. He was physically unable to go see my parents, but also didn't want to talk to them till they started treating me better. For the next few months, my parents would beg for him to reach out while simultaneously berating me, low-key stalking, many 3-hour phone calls just yelling at me, telling me I'm throwing my life away and how he would never be good enough for me. The only thing that kept me in contact with them was the younger kids and my boyfriend encouraging me to keep trying. Every time things got better, my boyfriend would go to reach out, but before he could, I would get a phone call from them and spend the next week in absolute wreck. This went on for 8 months. When my boyfriend finally reached out and made plans, my parents canceled last minute and went on vacation. The next time he reached out, he got no response. This went on for 4 more months. Now my parents are saying they'll never forgive him and want nothing to do with him. When I had moved out, my boyfriend had told me that he wanted to propose, but had made a promise to his brother who was engaged that he wouldn't propose until after they had married, and their wedding was set for a year out. That year's now up, he's moved in with me and we want to get married, but not without my parents' permission, so we're in a bit of a tough spot. He wants to make things right with them, and I want them to be involved, but they want absolutely nothing to do with our relationship. They had never told me explicitly that they want us to break up, and personally, if we did break up, then our whole 1.5 years of trouble would be for nothing. I don't want that, and I don't think my parents want that either. They just don't know how to get over what we did. I don't know how to move forward, and I feel stuck and trapped under my parents' thumb because they're still dictating my life. If he proposes, it would be without their permission, which neither of us wants. But if he doesn't, we may never get married and can't make things right. I personally feel like getting married would make our life decisions right, and we can all move on with our life. I feel like I'm going to be forced to force them to make a decision about whether they want to be a part of my life or not. But if I do that, I lose the relationship with my siblings and possibly my jobs, because we all work together. I think the parents are delaying, and OP needs to just put their foot down and call them out and move forward with their life. But hey, I'm Steven, and if you love hearing about these entitled parents, why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our next story is from Desk 2118, entitled Parents Defend Son's Racist Behavior. This story comes from my cousin, who's currently a freshman in high school. At my cousin's school, there's 2 boys who are friends. We'll call them Evan, 14-year-old male, and Oliver, 14-year-old male. Evan and Oliver went to different middle schools in the district, but now go to the same high school. My cousin went to middle school with Evan. My cousin also described Evan as the worst kid I've met. Evan is a bully who would constantly get into fights, including by blatant instigation. He said Evan would constantly instigate the athletic boys at his school, including by calling some of their favorite players slurs. He says Evan is known for vaping and proudly displaying his ankle monitor. He says Evan's parents are good people who always let the school discipline their son, but don't know how to handle them anymore and have tried everything from grounding to therapy and anything they could think of. This year, Oliver became friends with Evan through the Dungeons & Dragons Club and chess club at their school. Oliver quickly began participating in bullying with Evan. Evan and Oliver will make fun of kids who have lower grades than them and act superior for their nerdy interests. Recently, they were playing a game together on live with another boy at their school. This boy doesn't really know them and just wanted someone to play with. He knew the boys played this game and asked if he could join them. The boy's father came in the room for something and heard what the other boys were saying, including using the N-word and saying racist stuff about classmates. The boy told his dad that he didn't know the other boys would do that and just assumed they were mean at school because of being bored. Concerned about what the boys were saying about classmates, the father emailed the school and told them what had happened. His son gave all the details. The school looked into it and found instances of them using dog whistles to put down classmates. The parents of both boys were called in to discuss what had happened. Evan's parents apologized profusely, and after going through his phone while still in the office, found examples of him and his friends sending blatantly bigoted content to each other. Evan's parents are now making him use a flip phone until the end of the year. Oliver's parents had different reactions. When they were called in, they had first blamed the third boy in this scenario for tattling, then started to defend their son by saying, "He's only 14 and just a freshman." They also said because his brother, 15, was dating a non-white, an Asian girl, that he couldn't be racist. Both boys got in-school suspension for bullying students, and Oliver's parents tried to get him out of in-school suspension by saying he had a stomach flu and saying he couldn't go in. When Evan finished his in-school suspension and Oliver went back to school, he started complaining about how he was called to the ISS room to actually do his time. The third boy posted about everything that had happened on his Insta story. That's how my cousin knew. And Oliver's parents tried getting him in trouble for harassment. Oliver just got back to normal classes, and my cousin said that he's very quiet. Hopefully that means he learned his lesson, but with parents like that, I doubt it. This really raises a good question, where let's say a kid is going home and they're talking bad about their classmates in other social groups, or on Xbox Live or wherever it is that they might be talking. Or let's say they put like a Snapchat or an Insta story out where they're talking bad about a classmate, or they're saying just some outlandish stuff like slurs. Should a school be able to dish out some kind of punishment on school grounds relating to that stuff that they said outside of school? Or despite how awful their actions are, is it just overreaching for a school to try to be involved in that stuff? Our next story is from Neo Snooze, forcing to be family. I don't know if this is the sub for it, but my mom met her fiance a year ago. My brother jokingly called him Big Papa sometime around the beginning, and my mom for some reason really loved it. I didn't know that until she told me that she told her boyfriend how we call him Papa already, and she told me he loved it. First of all, I already have a Papa, and it's not that man. And second, I told Mom I don't want to call him that, but she kept forcing it anyway. She would use it when we were all at dinner together. For example, "Oh, so your Papa, blah blah blah," and "Tell your Papa, blah blah blah," things like that. Now, I just don't ever talk to him first or call his attention. I don't talk to him unless he talks to me first, so I never have to address him, because they expect that name. 6 months after I met him, I told my mom I was pregnant, and for some reason he was automatically given a grandpa title by my mom. I was really upset by this, but my friends told me to leave it alone, because in time he will earn the grandfather role. Well, they aren't married yet, and he already has a lot of entitlement. My mom too, I think they hype each other up over my daughter. It's only been 3 weeks since we last saw them, and he keeps talking about how he never gets to see my baby anymore, how he doesn't know who we are because we don't come over anymore, how he used to know a baby like my baby, but he means my baby. I mean, I can go on and on. All of that in a few weeks only. There's just so much more to it, but I would be typing forever. I want to tell them both I feel I was robbed of a genuine relationship with this guy. If he's going to be family, then I feel that's so unfair. I have a lot of uncomfortable feelings regarding him, and I'm thinking it started with that dang Papa title. My mom would even instruct me to go hug him because it'll make him happy. I'm sick of all of it. I don't know if it's a good idea or not to talk to them about it, but I also want to address their entitlement over my baby. I just don't know how, or if I should just leave it alone. I can't do it in person or I might throw up, but I don't think they'll read a text. I just want to be done with whatever this is so I can feel normal again. I know it's incredibly easy for me to say, but this is definitely one of those situations where the longer and longer they let this perpetuate, the harder it gets for them to speak up and just tell the truth, and that the best policy here is just being honest with it, as painful as it may be. Either that, or you maybe go to the no contact route. It's really easy to think about ripping off the band-aid though. Our next story is from Fop-Tarts. My brother just made a new group chat with me and included our emotionally abusive mother. I lost my father in March of this year unexpectedly. I was at work and noticed my brother was calling me back to back. When I answered, he told me our father was gone. I've never had a good relationship with my mother. She's had a hard life and became a mother because it was expected of her, not because she wanted to. She's never been warm when other people weren't looking and loved embarrassing me in front of family to play the part of the doting mother. My brother and I drove 9 hours to bury my father with the help of his wife, my stepmother. My stepmother has been the mother I wish I had. She's been nothing but respectful of my relationship with my dad and went out of her way to make me feel welcome without overwhelming me. My mother, entitled mother, and my father divorced 10 years ago because entitled mother couldn't stop cheating on him long enough to work on their marriage. Entitled Mother remarried a week before my father did, very suddenly after hearing about my father and stepmother's incoming wedding. Entitled Mother was and will likely always be the biggest reason I can't ever really love myself like I should. She had a way of saying exactly what needed to be said to grind my self-esteem to a paste. Not only would she reduce me to a puddle, she'd make me feel bad about standing up for myself. My father was open about how he felt. I should distance myself from her. But the little kid in me was determined to get her approval. After we buried him, I stopped caring about her approval. I'd moved states to get away from her and was starting to build a life for myself, living close to my brother and his family. My brother and his wife suffered an unimaginable loss on the heels of losing Dad. He was reeling and asked Entitled Mother to come down and see him. From the moment she arrived, it was heck. 1. Entitled Mother is an alcoholic. She drank nearly all of the booze at my brother and sister-in-law's place. 2. Entitled Mother is passive-aggressive. She called my sister-in-law by the wrong name since they were dating and hasn't stopped. She also made a snide remark to sister-in-law once while drinking her booze and sitting on her couch, prompting my brother to tell her off. 3. Entitled Mother doesn't like spending her own money. She went everywhere with my brother and his family and didn't pay for anything herself. Mind you, she's meant to be there to be support for them. 4. Entitled Mother makes her own plans and expects everyone to fall in line. She changed her flight home without telling us, prompting me to have to take her to the airport on a Tuesday afternoon. 5. Did I mention she's passive-aggressive? She was upset with me for not taking time off work to spend more time with her while she was down here. I'm not religious, so I don't go to church. My brother keeps asking to go, and I've been steadfast with refusing. Entitled Mother demanded I go with them and tried pinching me when I said no. I had a group chat with sister-in-law, my brother, and Entitled Mother. My nephew's birthday was in August. Entitled Mother drops in the group chat that she's decided to come down again and that she'll be staying with my brother. She doesn't ask, just informs us that she's coming. By this point, I've been laying boundaries down and sticking to them. She hasn't been able to push me. She has been able to guilt my brother. He tentatively tells her that she can't just invite herself down and reminds her how it wasn't exactly a pleasant experience the last time. Entitled Mother responds by telling him how much he hurt her, how she carried him for 9 months, and how distraught it made her for him to be so cruel. With that, 30 years of resentment bubbled to the surface and I lost it. This was my response. What I don't understand is why your grown butt son putting healthy and realistic boundaries entitles you to say something like that. Is this what you've learned in therapy? Are you even really going to therapy? Take this message you just sent to your son and show it to your therapist. If they actually exist, this is it. I'm done, Mom. I need therapy myself to sweat you out. Don't call me, don't write me, nothing. I'm done, bye. My brother told me I shouldn't have said what I did. I let him talk as I was fairly certain he was still guzzling the Kool-Aid. I feel justified in never speaking to her again. She's never really been a mother to me. This was about 2 months ago. My brother recently got in touch with her and has slowly been asking me if I'd be willing to do the same. My answer has been a resounding no each time, along with a solid reason. She's the antithesis of what a mother should be. My brother hasn't agreed, but acknowledges my feelings, and we talk about other stuff. Fast forward to an hour ago, I'm suddenly in a new group chat with sister-in-law, Entitled Mother, and my brother. I deleted it, but I'm the only Samsung among them, so I can't really leave it, so to speak. I fought the urge to call him and tear him a new one, and just took some deep breaths. I'm too angry to talk to him, so I won't until I've settled. I can't be in contact with Entitled Mother. My sanity won't survive it. I want to ask my brother if he did it on purpose, but I'm afraid of what his answer will be. What should I do? I think OP's relationship with their brother, even if they are a little bit Kool-Aid drinking towards their mom, seems to me to be pretty close. So I would recommend waiting, like OP said, for them to calm down enough. Never invite them to something like that again, or they might have to start cutting back on talking to them too if they can't be respected. Obviously, I think that's a nuclear option and you don't want to do that with somebody you're so close with, but what other option are you really left with? Our next story is from Consideration OK 2591. Entitled mom refuses to pay for store candy jar their kid just stuck their hand into. I got my first Karen at work last night. Well, technically my coworker did. I work at a local chocolate shop that also sells ice cream, caramel apples, and jars of both chocolate and gummy candy. Since COVID, if a customer wanted a bag of the jar candy, they would either bring the jar over to us, or we would come around to grab it and then we would fill it with a bag. Unless you're an employee and have gloves on, you can't touch the candy itself. There's been plenty of times when young kids have opened the jars and stuck their whole hand in them, leading to us having to either throw away all the candy or take it home ourselves. Since it costs a lot of money for us, our managers had decided that from now on, if a kid stuck their hand in the jar, the parents would have to pay for the entire jar. Last night, it was just me and this other girl, even though it was originally supposed to be 4 people working that night, and of course we were slammed with a ton of people. I was scooping ice cream on the verge of crying from stress when I heard yelling coming from where a coworker was. 2 moms had gotten in a screaming battle while my coworker called our manager and was also crying. We ended up closing early, and basically what happened was that another kid stuck their hand in the jar. My coworker told the parents they would have to pay for the jar. We had a sign up about that rule too, and the parents started saying they weren't going to pay for that and that she, my coworker, should have been watching their kid. Some other parents started telling them off, and eventually it led to a screaming battle involving F-bombs, and they left the store without paying for the jar. Luckily, every other customer in the store was on our side. I feel bad for that coworker. That's one of the downsides of working retail. You're just gonna run into some real jerks. That said though, if you go to any of these places that have these open jars of candy, you know, the ones where you kind of scoop it yourself, does anybody actually trust that those are not just like ridden with germs from somebody like scooping their hand through there? Honestly, I feel like most people might just straight up avoid it. Am I wrong? Our next story is from Throwaway 176543276. My parents are draining the life out of me. I was recently sent to the hospital, and ironically I've noticed that I just feel happier. I've been more productive, I'm truly happy, and it feels like in some crazy way that life is easy again. But the second my parents step in my room to visit, it's back to how it was before I got hospitalized. I feel drained even if they're here for an hour, and it's nothing they say or do, but it's like them just being in the room makes me less productive and leaves me feeling drained and exhausted. When my parents visit for days on end, I also notice I start to revert back to my unhealthy coping habits. This instantly reminded me of how several years ago when I got hospitalized for an ED and they weren't allowed to visit due to the pandemic. I was the happiest I felt in years, and after a week of being cut off from my parents, my unhealthy habits were gone. But when I got home, I instantaneously relapsed. I'm 15 and I don't graduate for another year and a half. My mom homeschooled me, so I don't even have school as an outlet anymore. It just feels like when I take a step back and look at my life, my parents have metaphorically smothered the life out of me and effectively drained me of enjoying my childhood. Something that, looking back on, I wish I was able to enjoy. I think I may look into overnight camps for summer as a way to get away from my parents for a long time, but I just feel stuck. Any advice? I think the best advice in this situation is just try to have this addressed. I feel like everything OP said here is kind of dancing around really seeking treatment for what seems to be an identifiable thing. Whether it's them just being around or something the parents are doing, ideally you work with a professional and explain what this stressor is and work towards a happy solution. And also, even at 15, you still got a lot of young, enjoyable years ahead of you. This next story is from Sweet Adrena 2, entitled Mom at the Sand Pit. This happened a few months back. Someone else posted about an entitled parent at the park, and it reminded me of this. My kid has several disabilities. He was 11 when this happened. We went to a park that has a really nice sand pit for kids to play in. It's really big, has a sand and water table, as well as 2 of those play diggers that look like real equipment used on construction sites. My son was absolutely delighted. We pulled out his sand toys, which are a collection of buckets, rakes, and mini shovels. He happily sat down and waited his turn to play with one of the diggers. All of the other children wandered off to play on the swings, and he hopped up to play with one of them. I was sitting pretty close by because I'm sensitive to how other people treat them. I noticed a very small boy, maybe 2, was playing with the sand toys we brought along. I didn't say anything because we'd been sharing the toys with everyone, and the kid was playing nicely with them. All of a sudden I hear, "Hey!" I look over and there's a woman standing next to my son. Part of his disability is he often doesn't respond when being spoken to. He kept on playing. "Hey, I'm talking to you!" I stood up and started walking quickly to where she was. By this point, my son had noticed her and was frozen in place. "My kid wants to play with that. You're old enough to know that you should always let the little kids play if they want to." I walked up beside my son and said, "What's the problem?" It's important to note that I'm only 4'11". She says, "Is this your brother? He's hogging all the toys." I said, "Ma'am, this is my son. There are plenty of other things to play with." She looked me up and down and said, "What? Were you 15 when you had him? You're obviously lying. My son wants this digger. Your kid needs to give it to him." She pointed at her kid, who was very happily playing with the water table and our buckets, not even looking our way. I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not instructing my kid to give up the toy he waited his turn for and has only been playing with for 5 minutes. There's another one next to the table your child's playing with." She said, "This is ridiculous. Big kids don't need to play in the sand. Only small children get to play with the toys." At this point, my son was hunched over and trying hard not to cry. I reassured him he absolutely did not have to give up that toy. I said, "Ma'am, there's another digger right next to your child. If he really wants to play with one of them, he can play with that one." She was definitely turning red and went on a very long rant about how older kids should respect younger kids and just give them what they want. In the meantime, her kid wandered off. I silently pointed to where her child was attempting to climb up the slide. She turned around, stormed over to him, picked him up, and then called, I'm assuming, her husband. She loudly complained about how evil big kids were keeping her baby from enjoying himself. There was still a digger with no kids playing on it that her kid could have played with. She sat and glared at us for a while before packing up and leaving. She stole our bucket on her way out and called me a teenage hooar. I'm 40, just really short. Honestly, I feel bad for OP. I feel like this is one of those entitled parents you just don't really have any chance of dealing with. They're the kind of entitled parents who say the sky's blue, and because they don't want to agree with you, they will fight you on that until either you or them leaves the vicinity. And our final story of the day is from Ancient Version 3568. I stopped my entitled mother from screaming at an autistic worker. I'm a 22-year-old woman, and my mother, 61, is a bit of a Karen and a Kevin at the same time. Perfect combo, right? Me and my mother were standing in line after an evening of shopping at a clothing/grocery store that's very popular. My mother, who's clueless, says, "Look how cute this is," holding up the lingerie that I picked out with a matching thong. I take her hands gently and say, "Please don't do that," while laughing a little about how dim that was. We both start to laugh a little as we're coming up next. I noticed immediately that the worker had a strong stutter and was a bit autistic. Not that I minded. I just want to get ahead of it and be mindful of how I interact with them so they aren't uncomfortable. I also have an autistic nephew who I love and adore. I went into defense mode because I knew my mom was just going to start something because she's clueless outside of her own bubble. My mom yelled at him immediately that the items we had were on sale, which was true, and she continued on being really rude for a few minutes before I cut her off and showed her on the display that he did indeed ring them up as on sale. The worker commented on a t-shirt that I was buying, and since no one was behind us, we had a really nice conversation about Netflix shows and anime. I really wish I could have gotten his number because he was a really nice and cool dude and wanted more friends in that area who watched anime. I'm in a serious relationship too, and I'm socially awkward, so I'm not the best at that whole making friends thing. I also never give out my number because I keep my circle small and struggle to even spend time and keep contact with a few friends I actually have. I'm in my own head a lot. Anyway, I digress. There's honestly so many more moments of my mom like her coming to my room and trying to drink my McDonald's, Blizzard I think, through the spoon. She also thought it was a great idea to put oil in fries in the air fryer I just bought her and put it on the toast setting. She got it on fire and didn't even think to unplug the darn thing. Needless to say, she needs a bit of supervision. Good thing I got my common sense from my father. I love her, but she's done some really messed up stuff from the other stuff I posted about my childhood. Like, at what point is this entitled parent? And at what point is this, like, unaware or incompetent parent? I mean, there's just the kind of person to me that seems like they just kind of stumble their way through things, you know? Like, advanced level thinking maybe is a little farer and fewer between than you'd like. I don't want to be mean, but a lot of stuff seems straightforward or simply an utterly incorrect thing to do and they just go on doing it. I don't know. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.